Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dev Diary. Today we're looking at a project that I've wanted to do for a while, but something would always keep it from getting done. Now before we get into what that was, remember to leave a like if you enjoyed today's video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. We do fun game dev stuff here every single week, so be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. So today's project is inspired by the game Heavy Bullets. Heavy Bullets is a FPS roguelike, but the twist is that the bullets are physical objects that need to be picked up to use as ammo. It's such a cool and unique concept, and one that's just begging for more chaos. Which is why car combat, or at least having the player control a car, seemed to be the best way to go. And just to turn things up a notch, for the project we're using sprite stacking and gamemaker's physics. Now movement wise, the player is able to turn the car as long as their speed is above a certain number. The speed of the car also determines the turn speed of the car, and in general, car speed is simply handled by applying force in the necessary direction, and the physics handle the rest. Now as for shooting, the player can aim independently by holding right click, which will spin the player's turret to face the direction of the mouse. Left clicking will fire a bullet, which, like Heavy Bullets, is a physical object with physics enabled. It's a basic physical object that has force applied during its active phase, and because I'm still not too familiar with using physics in a top-down manner, leads to some awkward collision behavior. Weirdness aside, bullets eventually enter a second state where their physics are disabled. It's in this state that they can then be picked up by the player, which, to make things a little more fair, is proximity based instead of collision based. The player is not alone in this world, and in fact there are 3 different types of enemies that can spawn. The first is a very basic enemy that actually doesn't do anything but annoy the player. Admittedly, this enemy was simply added to really mess with the physics system. The second enemy type is projectile based and will, of course, periodically fire projectiles when within firing distance of the player. The enemy projectiles are more traditional in behavior and don't require any physics to function, and so colliding with the player will deal damage before destroying itself. The third and final enemy is a variation of the first, only this one attempts to self-destruct when near the player. It's basically the creepers from Minecraft if they also happen to have jet boots on. Their explosions are also not instantaneous, and will cancel the act if the player moves out of range in time. Now, explosions are handled similarly to other projects, being neutral in nature and hurting anything caught within its radius. And when enemies are defeated, they have a slight chance of dropping hearts, and collecting these will heal the player a small amount. Now, tossing bullets is just one way to dispatch an enemy. Players can also damage enemies by literally driving into them. Now, the amount of damage dealt is based on the speed upon impact. This will also damage the player for a fraction of the damage dealt. This provides the player an alternative way to fight back in case they're bad at aiming or unfortunate in their timing of shots. And really, that's about all there is to the project. It's a concept I've really wanted to make a reality for like a long time, but just could never get beyond this point. What should the gameplay loop be? What type of progression can be added to this to keep things interesting? You know, the usual. I even saved this project for last this month in order to squeeze more time out of adding new features. But eventually nothing really came to be, so this turned into more of an attempt to learn gamemaker's physics system and improve the visuals. So what do you think? What could we possibly do to make this a more full experience? Are there any other games that you know of that could inspire the next step? Be sure to leave any and all thoughts in the comments. And as always, if you would like to play some previous games featured on the channel, or would like to get early access to the weekly game dev videos, subscribe to my Patreon. With that said, brings us to the end of today's Dev Diary and this month of focusing on smaller ideas. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.